All right, this is Brian here with my Infiniti 2019 Infiniti Q50 Signature Edition rear-wheel drive. I'm tuned and I'm going on about an hour and a half trip for work, and then I'll be coming back. So I just want to document my gas mileage, and last time I got about 36.5, 37, and I'll go into the details why I think my car is achieving that, some of the things that allow for a little bit better fuel economy and some of the things that don't allow for good fuel economy. I'll talk about that too. But I am set at 17,235 miles. So here we go. We're gonna go take off on the trip now. Just taking photos to document. I got different cameras and whatever's easiest to shoot from, but we're about 39 miles into it and 35.7. Like I said, when I took my trip and got 36 to 37 miles to the gallon on the highway, it was about 75 to about 81 degrees when I went to Austin. So it's cooler, and you can see the drop in MPG. It's 99 degree. I mean, just short of 100 depending on where you are, but yep. All right, so I drove 113 miles, and I averaged a little bit lower than what I thought. I thought it'd be closer to about 35 MPG, but not far. It's 34.5 after 113 miles. But yep, just another documenting photo. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this Ecutech app. Phone got damaged. The screen decided to crap out on my last Galaxy Samsung, and I lost everything. So the screen went dead, and I've lost all the settings. And so I've gone bouncing back and forth from the new uploaded Ecutech app, and required me to restructure everything. And I had everything set up for a long time, what little gauges I was looking at, my backgrounds. And so I've had to reset or restart this whole process like 4 times in the last 6 months. But so on this drive, just to make long story short, I instead of sitting in my car in the garage for 30 minutes with my engine idling and it's 110 degrees in my garage, I just was going to deal with this while I was driving, and it makes it a lot easier. I'm driving, and so I'm not wasting fuel sitting in the garage. But if for anyone that's interested, you can just see my cat, compressed air temp and my coolant temp that's flowing through that, and you can see the degrees of my oil temp and my coolant temp. And at the top portion, I've got my timing correction, which is less important because it's negative, because it is close to 100 degrees. So the car Racebox informed me that he specifically set up my car when my car and other people's cars that he's tunes, when it gets hot outside, it's running negative ignition timing to protect the engine. If it was 70, 80 degrees or 60 degrees, then you wouldn't see this in the negative. But it's so hot here in Dallas that it's a safety precaution, but no knock retard, so that's good. All right, I'm driving back from where I stayed overnight, about an hour and a half away, and so reset my trip. And one big difference right now is it's like 103.
Right onto Texas 19 Northwest Spring Street.
That's my navigation, but it's 103 degrees, where when I got 36, 37.
Continue on Texas 19 North for 31 miles.
It was about between 77 degrees and like 81 degrees. So temperature has a lot to do with fuel economy. Yeah, so that we're starting out. I'm at 39.2 MPG, but I just reset that, and here we go. We'll see what we can come up with. But this car, most people report with 3.0 T's, probably getting, in the 25 miles to the gallon, maybe 27 miles to the gallon, and maybe, 16 to 18 around town. So they're really blown away. Around town mileage varies quite a bit, and it depends on driving and, the stoplight situation and the traffic. So I'm not going to compare inner city driving because it's a wide variety of different driving. But on the highway, I'm not pressing the issue, maybe, between 70, 72, mile per hour. So if you're driving 80, then you're going to reduce your MPGs. But what affects MPGs, there's a lot. And I guess a lot of people don't really consider that there's so many variables that can dramatically change your miles to the gallon. Your wheel weight, your tires, your choice of tires has a big deal. Maybe 3 to 4 miles to the gallon, comparably between a tire that doesn't get good mile to the, MPG. I've got the 0W20 weight oil in there, and that produces better gas mileage. And that's why in your owner's manual, most of the oil, weight of the oil that they recommend running in this car is the 0W20, because it makes the car get better gas mileage than 5W30. But 5W30 is a little bit better for when it's warmer, if you're driving the car hard. A lot of, temperature has a lot to do with it, humidity, tire pressure, what you're running your tire pressure at. Let's see, what else? There's just a whole plethora of details. The weather, as far as the wind, that has a lot to do with it. If you're going into the wind or against the wind, there's just so many variables, and I'm drawing a blank. There's probably 10 more variables that you set on your car. And also, now that I'm thinking about it, I started my trip in just regular shift mode, and now about halfway through it up here, I put it in eco mode. I don't think that has a lot to do with it. That's just about basically controls the shift points of where the car is deciding to shift early rather than let the RPMs run up a little higher, which affects gas mileage. That would be more in the city driving, where your car wants to stay a gear lower. But when you get up to 67 miles per hour, 60 to 70 miles per hour, your car is going to basically shift up into high gear, unless you're in Sport Plus. Then it would probably cruise around in fifth gear, or maybe fifth gear or sixth gear instead of seventh gear. But there's so many things. I just want to touch base with you on that, and I'm going to drive the rest of the trip home and calculate. Let the car just kind of calculate the MPG, and it's probably going to be around 35 miles to the gallon, which is stellar with a tune. I'm at 400 and something horsepower. I'm running the D-graded, the D-tune map. It's basically probably a little bit more powerful than a Red Sport, your standard Red Sport. So it's probably, around 15 PSI, when you're on the gas. But those are the details. So thanks for listening, and we'll look. I'm going to jump into the detail when I get home. Okay. All right, I got off the highway, and 34.5. Like I said, it's hotter outside by about 20 degrees, and 233 miles. So there you go. All right, back to the data log. As you can see, I got my screen, my back screen, what I wanted, kind of a carbon fiber. I got a little Infiniti logo in there. Kind of like that, but I don't know, I might change my mind. But here's my log and my parameters that I'm looking at, as far as my home screen. So still got the ignition timing, but intake temperature, and let me just make note, this is more towards the evening time, so it has cooled down probably about 95 degrees, about a little closer to my home. So intake temp, I think, is important. That's the air intake temp is 102 degrees, and obviously I think CAT and the coolant temperature for your intercoolers or in your heat exchanger is important to show. That's a CACT, and then your oil temp and your coolant temp. I've got most of these parameters set up, so if they hit a high, then they will blink red, and you can set that up in your phone app. Of course, I think the most important to me is knock retard. So if I'm hauling ass under full throttle and I see my screen blink and I look down and I see knock retard in the negative, then that's when you want to shut down and figure out what's going on. If it's too hot outside, the car's overheating, or you've got bad gas. So knock retard is from the best of my knowledge, is my key component that I want to look at so that I don't damage my motor. But yep, all the other things are important too. And then you can flip over and you can show another screen, and I don't have that set up yet, but that's it. All right, I'm back now. Just want to finalize the video and end it here, but I just want to tell you some more elaborate. I've been following some, reading some articles and some people that obviously know more than your standard YouTube Q50 owner that have talked about different variables like blow-off valves, okay? Say you've got blow-off valves like most of you do watching videos, Q50, got blow-off valves, and you're running a JB4. Ultimately, I would try to persuade people to get a tune with while they're running the blow-off valves, but let me just go ahead and explain. You know, blow-off valves are taking the fuel and, you know, adjusting the, you know, the car's adjusting to the fuel, to the air-fuel ratio, and then every time you let off the gas, you hear that sound that everyone's so addicted to. You're blowing out fuel. You're losing that fuel. So I've seen documented by knowledgeable people that if you're running blow-off valves and you're not tuned, that you are wasting a lot of fuel. I've seen people that have taken off or put on blow-off valves and they're like, man, my fuel economy took a massive dive. And those people took their blow-off valves off the car, and then their gas mileage improved. So that's one way you're killing your gas mileage. And then probably with a JB4, you know, who knows? A JB4 is just a piggyback boost controller. It's tricking the computer by adding additional boost on top of what the car thinks it's running factory-wise. And really, that's not a great idea. If you're running low boost, you know, maybe 16, 17 over the 14.5 of a Red Sport, I think that the ECU is able to handle that and cope with that. But if you're running, you know, 18, 19, 20, you know, when you're running the upper boost max on a JB4, I think the car ECU is not capable of handling that. And when you add a JB4 and you add blow-off valves, or you add catless, full catless, or partial catless downpipes, the ECU doesn't know anything different. So what I'm trying to get to is your tuner. You tell your tuner what you have. You've got your catback exhaust, you've got your AMS, Z1 Motorsports intakes, you've got everything, and the tuner sees the data. That's what's key, that you send in a data log, and then he knows what you have. He adjusts the ECU off of the factory settings and adjusts, if he's a good tuner, and adjusts everything to mesh together. And so that's key. That's why you have to pay more for a tune. You know, JB4, I take my JB4 off and nobody knows, you know, that I have it on there. I mean, it's cheaper for a reason. So ultimately, if you love your Q50, Q60, you get a professional tune done, is what I'm trying to say. But fuel economy gets affected by when you add on things to the car and you don't adjust the ECU to that. So people that are getting, you know, extremely bad fuel mileage, maybe that's what's leading to it. But my improved fuel economy is, you know, a sign that the car's tuned well and it's running well. I think, you know, 34, 35, 36 is phenomenal fuel economy for a, you know, 450 horsepower tuned 3.0T, you know, car. But let me just finish off by saying, you know, I got AMS air boxes that allows a little bit more air to come in, and, you know, it's supposed to, you know, due to the intake diameter and the proportions and the smooth inlet, you know, maybe the air is getting in and making for a more smoother burn, a more, you know, more efficient burn. So there's lots of things, you know, and I'm tuned with my catback exhaust. Even though I don't have lower downpipes and I'm running the 2.5 or maybe a 2-inch downpipe, you know, with the more restrictive cats, the car's still working really, really well. You know, your tuner can see all that in the data. So it's really, really key to get professionally tuned, if you want to see the ultimate performance and have your car working the very, very best. But yeah, so I was about 34.5 MPG. I'll take that. You know, driving this car with fuel prices. Fuel prices are never going to come back until the administration has changed and they change their mind on this Green New Deal and start letting our oil companies drill and start and investing more money. But hopefully that happens, because, you know, I mean, turn around and buying an EV vehicle, selling this and buying that, you know, it's been pointed out to me that it'll take 10 years for me to catch up, and versus, you know, just driving this and paying this off. But refinancing $55,000, $60,000, in reality, you can't buy anything EV. I mean, maybe, you know, a 10-year-old hybrid, if you can even buy them, but they're $15,000 more money. But you know, you can't get anything that's not $55,000 to $60,000, especially with tax, title, and license. But I love my car. Love my car every day. Still, after 3 years, I've had my car 3 years. I still love my car. It looks fantastic. I've got 0 door dings on it. Say that, 0 door dings, very, very, very few rock chips, no damage to the windshield. So I'm very impressed with this car still 3 years later, and I love it. So if you're looking at getting a 3.0T Q60, Q50, and they're also, looks like discontinuing the Q60. So a great car to get if you're into cars, and especially if you're into Japanese cars. And then you just got to remember, they're putting this 3.0T motor, dropping it directly into the Nissan Z for what, the next 5 or 6 years, or however that car runs. So they have a lot of, they're putting a lot of weight into continuing this motor. It's such a great motor. It has so much capability, you know, with just a simple tune and some simple mods. But other than that, the video's too long. I appreciate you tuning in. I know this is another fuel economy video. It's not that interesting, but I think it's a good video, and I kind of geek out on some of this stuff. So hopefully you found it interesting. If you found it interesting, because then it just gets shared with more people, and I appreciate it. You can comment. You know, just be tasteful and don't be hateful. Man, the car community's got some hateful people. A little bit screwed up in the mind. But other than that, thanks for viewing, and have a great weekend, and hopefully a great rest of the year. Okay, bye-bye. I throw this picture in there. This is me back in 2019 with a beard, and my car on the showroom floor. It's one of the first in signature editions that they got. It was a introduction for the mid-year 2019. Yeah, I'm stuttering, sorry. But me standing in front of my car, it was the only one they had. I went in there, chrome wheels, all black interior, man, and the, you know, sport front end and the sport rear and the sides. I was like, man, this is the car I want. It is fantastic with the blackish chrome wheels. So I just wanted to share this photo. Someone may get a kick out of that.